The world of esports may be a mystery or something very common to you. On this, the Juhadre podcast in association with Rated R Esports, we're going to talk a lot about it. So without further ado, let's jump right into our episode. Pleasure to be here with you. My name is Juhadre, and with me is my co-host Alvatross. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good to hear. Are you nervous?
Considering I don't even know the agenda for the day. Our first podcast. And this is going to be interesting.
Yes, it will. This is Juhadre. As you can tell, a little play on my name there. Juhadre. That's what we're doing today. And this is going to be a weekly podcast for Rated R Esports. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to explain a little bit about why you don't know what's going on.
No, I don't.
And
I'm coming into this fresh-minded.
And that's intentional. I want Juhadre to be very raw, very real, so that anyone listening to it gets the same experience that whoever's on the show gets. So it's all brand new. It's all a surprise. No script, at least other than the one I have. As such,
that's true.
Even when we have guests, I'm going to have you like in the dark. You won't know what we're going to bring that person in to talk about, who they will be until we're there. You'll know most of them though.
So I will be the audience.
Essentially.
Yeah, this
so
will be interesting.
You'll be the one that everyone can connect to. So everyone at home, we're going to explain a little bit about ourselves, kind of get into the who we are, what we do, the W questions. You remember all of those?
Who, what, where, why, how?
Yeah, exactly. So who are we? My name is Juhadre.
My name is Alvatross.
I am a 29-year-old male living in Utah.
I am 28 years old. I live in Utah all my life. And I work in the field of IT. Actually with Juhadre.
Juhadre, actually.
Juhadre. Such a funny play on words there.
I like it.
That's going to get some taking to get used to.
We do work with each other, but you and I have known each other several years now, 3 or 4, 5?
Actually, yes. I met Juhadre through my wife.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted me to get to know another person that was into music at the time, and we bonded from there. It was very interesting. We just clicked immediately.
And we're going to get into more detail on that in a little bit. But so that's who we are. And now, so that's the who. Now we're into what. What do we do for Rated R? I'll let you go first because my list is a little bit more extensive, if you would, please.
Well, what I do for Rated R Esports. Not much yet, except for this podcast. I came to Juhadre and asked, bro, I want to do a podcast one day. And he looks at me and says, that's funny because they just came to me and said, hey, will you start a podcast?
Yes, that is what happened. Our owner, Torchy, asked me if I would run the podcast. So I bought the software. I started thinking about ideas, and Alvatross approached me and was like, you want to do a podcast? I was like, hey, what do you know? Yes, I do.
It's been a dream of mine. Just 3 or 4 years ago, the podcast world just exploded. It's amazing what you will see out there. I wanted to be a part of it.
So what I do for Rated R Esports, I am the team manager of the League of Legends team, and I run this podcast, which is why I thought it was funny to name it after myself. And I was approached by Torchy, the owner of Rated R, after doing some casting for a tournament the League of Legends team was playing in. And he said, you look like the guy who could manage the team. So I manage the team. So there will be frequent visits from members of the team as a whole, and we will discuss their success in everything because that's what I do. That's my job. That's how I got where I am here with Rated R. So where are we?
Currently in your basement.
We are in my basement. Yes, we are in front of my machine that I use for everything, all my games. So the recording
machine is an understatement.
It's pretty big.
It's impressive.
I spent a lot of money on this one. I used the same rig for 5+ years, and when the second generation of Ryzen released, I was like, I need one of those. So I built one. And it cost me a pretty penny. I'm happy with it. I like it. My basement is in West Jordan, Utah. And that's in the United States, obviously. I shouldn't say obviously. That's a really ignorant thing to say.
There's a lot of people that play League of Legends worldwide.
Worldwide, for sure. Speaking of, Worlds is coming up, which will be a topic for, spoilers here. Okay, when did we meet? We already briefly went over this. I know that your 5-year anniversary is coming up, which means
we met in 2013.
So really that long.
I got married in 2014. It was about a year before I got married.
There you go. 2013 in another city in Utah called Orem, I believe we met.
Yes, actually, we went hot tubbing for the first time. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, invited them to go hot tubbing with us. She invited them over and we went hot tubbing. There's not much to it.
No, that's pretty much it. And then
6 years ago.
And maybe another time we'll go into more depth how you and I really clicked. It was just how we met.
It's an interesting story.
Yeah.
We have two very vastly different backgrounds.
So that's the first one. The next one is, when did we get started with Rated R Esports? I got started in March of 2019, right after the Game Tyrant Esports Winter Series.
And I personally got started, today, Friday, September 13th.
Friday the 13th. Such a...
Ooh, that's true.
A mild... 13th. It's mildly apropos, wouldn't you say? You and I have this strange attraction to the weird and the mystical.
I'll give you that. That is true.
And not too...
Starting a podcast, Friday the 13th. Well, for all the superstitious people out there, this is going to make it or break.
Oh, for sure. So why are we here? So we've done who, what, where, when, now why? Why are we here?
Well, me, I wanted to start a podcast. I'm jumping into the water with whatever we got.
And I appreciate that. Thank you. I didn't know what I was going to do. I've recently started listening to quite a few podcasts, one of which is a very popular one called Time Suck by Dan Cummins. It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
It's great. It's so informative, but with a hint of comedy.
Yeah,
it goes a little off the deep end once in a while, but it's become its own culture. It's awesome.
And so amazing. That actually answers the question why you're here, is because I didn't want to do it alone.
I didn't either.
That host, Dan Cummins, wonderful podcaster, but he does a lot of things on his own, and it's such a burden.
Actually, he opened up to a lot of people that wanted to volunteer at first. You can hear it as you go through the podcast. That you can see how grateful he is that he gets help. I could not imagine doing something alone. No,
neither could I. And so others that I've listened to have dual hosts, and I was like, oh, you know what? That sounds a lot more appealing to me. To have a co-host and to have two people here doing this.
My voice twitches.
It's okay. It's okay. It's raw. It's real. Other people's voices crack. It's okay. And why we are here doing the podcast is, once again, I was approached by the owner of Rated R. He said, hey, I want you to do the podcast. I'm like, oh, okay. I can do that. And so I bought a microphone. I bought the Adobe software. I learned how to use it, did a couple of weird little things to get an intro. By the way, I forgot to mention this at the very beginning. You and I recorded that intro, the music.
I was actually the lead guitarist to that introduction.
And so huge thanks to Mike Jamie Dab for writing that song. It is called Captain Crunch. He plays the rhythm guitar on that. Our friend Nate Bleen Dietrich plays bass. I am on drums. And then, you were on that lead guitar part. And we went and recorded that. And I messed with it a little bit just the other day. And I cut it together with the words of the intro. And we did it all ourselves. And so that's really cool.
Yeah.
So still on the why. I am not 100% sure why I was asked to do this.
So what you're saying right now is, because this is probably a big question a lot of our listeners are going to have, what is the point of our podcast? Because to be honest, you wanted me to come in raw. I don't really know. I just come in all excited and I'm like, what are we going to do?
So the point of this podcast is esports, the discussion thereof, and not just teams and games and things. There are already a whole bunch like that. But what I want to get into is the front and back sides of what esports are. For example, those wanting to pursue esports, is it a good time? What do you need to know? How much do you need to practice? What equipment do you need? What other things do you need to know about? Should you stream? Those type of things. And I have this gigantic list of different subjects here. I'll hand them to you. I don't know if you've seen this. This is 3 sheets of different ideas of topics, all having somewhat to do with the world of electronic esports.
And coming in with a background as a manager of a team, it gives you a completely different insight than people that just host this, that just talk about it. And you used to play League of Legends as well.
I do still play, but I never got good enough to play on a competitive level. I've played for so long, but this is going to sound really weird, but I let real life get in the way of me becoming good at the game. And so I progressed a little bit. There will be an episode about this, by the way, of how I got so involved in it. And I'm going to have my wife as a guest. So
that's going to be interesting.
It's going to be really interesting because I've never really told her the whole story. She's just only experienced, since we've been married, the last 7 years. And, it goes back a lot further than that. So on accident, we have answered the last quote unquote W question, the how. How did we get here? We got here because I was asked to run a podcast, and I asked you to come and help me because I didn't want to do it alone.
After I mentioned that I want to start a podcast.
Of course. And so I have already this tie into esports, but what about you? What do you have that will tie you into that world? I know that you play a little bit, but what true esports and organizational experience have you had?
Well, you're right. I do like to game. I actually grew up as a console family, which is weird because all my friends had PCs. I finally got my first PC, what would you say, like 3 years ago?
2 or 3.
2 or 3 years ago, and it's been great learning how to build that. But getting into that world, it's been interesting. Coming to the little get-togethers, I was going to say shindigs, the get-togethers where we all watch the League of Legends tournament, and just not knowing what's going on because I played a little bit of Dota 2. I played a little bit of League of Legends, but right when I jumped in, that's when it became the big sport. So everything changed. Getting to watch it versus playing it, so watching it more, it's really become interesting to see how sporty it is, how all these players, it's life. This is a lifestyle. This isn't just gaming anymore. This is how people make a living.
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm hoping to make that my own.
Don't we all want to have that? Gaming's life. Gaming's life. That's the goal here, Mm-hmm. So excited to see where this podcast is going to take us in this Rated R Esports world.
Definitely, as am I. And so that's going to do it for our first episode. I know that there wasn't a whole lot of content and it's all just kind of info, so it's probably rather boring. But thank you for making it all the way through. We're at about 13 and a half minutes. Does it feel like that? Did it feel
Not
like
really.
That?
No, I don't feel that way. But I do want to say soon we will get email address and contact info up. So anybody that has any information or just feedback they want to give us, we're more than happy to receive it.
Content ideas.
How about that? We'll go with that. We'll get it up soon and we can get feedback and we can get this all rolling. So
awesome. So we will go ahead into our outro. Thank you for listening. We look forward to where this will go and hope that you'll stick with it.
Be sure to follow Rated R Esports on social media. Twitter at rated_R_esports or at rated_R_lol. RatedResports.com.
Well, we have been Juhadre
and Alvatross,
and we'll see you next week on Juhadre.